All right, welcome back to the Evolution podcast with Mac and Jenn. My name is Jen, and I am here with my amazing husband, Mac. And today we are kind of pulling this topic out of nowhere, I think, kind of, but we're going to talk today about strength.
Mhm.
And I think the reason that we're talking about this is because Mac got into a little altercation. Is that what you call it?
Altercation. More like entertainment.
On Facebook with a lady and another guy, and they were all talking about strength. And so we're going to talk about strength today.
Yeah. And more so on the side of like what does it mean? What does strength mean as far as everybody has an interpretation to clarify it, bring it into something. And there's this thing that always comes up. And it's fascinating because when this comes up, it's always coming from the person that doesn't have what they want, but they're trying to tell everybody that they can do XYZ. And so there's a guy says something, and then a woman will say something like, well, maybe if you could handle a strong woman, you wouldn't have this problem. Coming from a woman that is single, wants more, acts a certain way, and then makes some statement trying to justify her position, lacking everything that she wants to actually get. So that's kind of the looking at it, say, okay, what does strength mean to you? So I'm just going to ask you, what, like, if I ask you, what does strong mean to you as a woman? What if I say, what's a strong woman?
What's a strong woman? Well, I mean, I don't honestly like when I know we were talked about this a little bit before we started, but I don't really know how to answer this.
Yeah.
Like what's a strong woman? Well, I feel like today women like to say that they're strong, and strong women are women that can do everything on their own.
Be independent.
Independent women are strong. Women that uh, don't necessarily need a man, those women are strong. Women that can kind of make it through anything, strong, right?
Yeah, I think the first thing you said was like, I don't want, I don't like strong. Something to that effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why, why when I said, you know, a strong woman, why did you basically say, yeah, I want nothing to do with that?
Because I feel like I maybe used to somewhat like want to be a strong woman or identify more as a strong woman, like that energy of being strong. But I feel like in my eyes, like strong is it's not a triggering word, but strong almost feels like struggle
Hmm.
to like be strong, to try and be strong. It's like if you're being strong, you're kind of in like the struggle.
Being, I, the expression you gave me when I asked it was like a reminder of being more in a masculine role of trying to take care of everything, do everything, and more. I think, did you say exhausting?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
exhausting.
yeah,
It
no,
sounds
it's exhausting.
exhausting.
Sounds exhausting. That's what you said. Sounds
Hmm.
exhausting. So,
And I said I don't want to be praised for being strong.
right.
Yeah, I don't want to be praised for being strong. Like I prefer like ease and flow.
Yeah. Which is more fulfilling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the so it's kind of taking that concept of just saying like, are you a strong woman? From that view, I would say, yeah, I mean, you could be considered a strong woman. Like, you took care of yourself, you took care of your son previously when you were previously married. Before me, you took care of things, you made sure everything was done, and you've done it on your own, right? Like, you're considered a strong woman. Versus now, do you have to be strong in those terms?
Um, no.
And
Yes.
and and how's it? Well, I would say no.
No.
Right? There's a lot of things
Yeah.
that you don't have to deal with now.
There's a lot of things that I don't have to deal with, but I would say even before like I met you,
Mhm.
I was kind of letting go of the need to project strong.
Or even or control or anything. Kind of
Hmm.
wanting nothing to do with
Nothing to do with
it.
it. And
Right.
so that's why like I understand when women like I feel like there's a lot of women these days that like or it's like everybody wants to be strong and we can do it on our own and this and that. And I think that's amazing, but I feel like it's also like a it is a protection
Absolutely.
thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want I kind of I've worn that mask before and that mask is exhausting.
Yeah, and and what you said is it's like the protection mechanism of strength, right? Like I've got this, I don't need you. It's a deflection, it's a justification. It's like this thing that says I'm good, like, well, maybe you should learn how to handle it, et cetera, et cetera. However, you've coached a lot of women, talked to hundreds, right? I've coached a lot of women, talked to hundreds, dealt with a lot of guys too. And all these women that are strong are not as fulfilled as the ones that don't try to be strong, right? The ones that are like, no, I just want to be a woman. Now, being a woman doesn't mean that you don't run a business. It doesn't mean that you maybe like everybody has a strength, and you might have a strength somewhere that excels, and that's not necessarily meaning you're not strong. It just means that you're not trying to control everything, and you're trying to be the man, right? Like that you're just at peace with who you are. You've got a clear set on what you want to do, and you want a man to take care of those things that you don't want to deal with that aren't in your lane, right? And so for you, what was it the other day? You said, well, we were talking about like a man paying, right? And how you went on a date and some dude wanted to split the bill, and then she looks at me and says, I don't care if you take my credit card and pay, I'm still happier if you just pay, which I mean I pay, but it's just this concept of like I don't want to deal with it, and for me I'm like I'll deal with it, like, and it makes me feel good. So here I get to do my strengths, she gets her strengths, and we're good. But go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that like look like strong. I feel like there's especially when you're on the internet talking about it, I think people need to clarify a lot of times, like, what does this actually mean to you? And what does this mean to me? Because sometimes people are arguing back and forth. But like for me, I feel like there's the exhausting strong, and then there's like the strength in the surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're so like that, I feel like this like that takes a lot of strength.
It takes way more strength.
But is that strong? Is it strong or is it strength?
Yeah, so this gets to the point of my argument now. I'm gonna shift into like what I actually view as strength in a woman, and what I believe is true strength in a woman, and then I'm going to talk about guys on like what they view as strong versus what is strong. But in this little bit of an entertainment that I had talking to someone on Facebook, I could immediately tell what was being portrayed and what was projected here, and so I just stated a few things. I said, well, true strength in a woman is the ability to be vulnerable and be feminine. Like that is true strength. And a lot of people don't even understand what that means,
Mm-mm.
right? Like it's a little confusing. So I'm going to lay it out as best I can, understanding that 99% of everyone that hears this, if not 100%, are not going to fully comprehend this because you cannot comprehend it until you have done it. And it is much harder to do than it is to reason or think about or whatever. But it's one of the things that Jen does, which is why we work and why I made the decision of like I'm going to make her my wife. Right? Like one of the biggest reasons, the most valuable one out of a lot of different things, and that is the emotional strength to step into vulnerability, to say I am going to tell the truth about how I feel, knowing that logically it sounds crazy. It can probably get me hurt by speaking about it, because if this man isn't capable of understanding it, he's going to attack me. Not because he's trying to attack me, but because he's too weak to hold space and he doesn't know himself well enough. but I'm still going to be vulnerable enough to be honest, because when I am honest, I will find that man that can do what needs to be done. That is strength. That is something I have never experienced anywhere else in my life, ever. Okay. So when I talk about strength, and to the kind of in this point, this woman said, well, I'm a woman, you're a man, I think I know. And so to her, I said, well, my wife is my wife. Do you have a man? I don't think you do. So who's the authority? Because I talk to my wife often about this. So if you want to talk, if you want to look at like you're a dude saying this, blah blah blah, whatever. How okay, well let me pull back a little bit and just show you something. Because she talks to me and she's honest, there's an energetic effect, right? This energetic emotional effect that happens with inside of me. I feel the honesty, I feel the vulnerability, and all of a sudden, as a man that can actually hold space with this and do it, all of a sudden, what it feels like to me is I'm holding a precious heart in my hands that she just placed in my hands. And I'm going, oh shit, a little bit. Like, don't fuck this up. Like, you better be careful with what she just gave you. And so then I go, okay, take care of it, protect it, figure out what's going on, heal it, help it, do whatever. Nothing about this is rational. Okay, there is no logical, rational, anything. It is purely emotional. And for her to know that she is entering a space that previously has been hurt, right? Knows that pretty much every man on the planet has hurt this space at some time or another, and that I probably will a little bit here and there, and hopefully not enough to where she shuts off. Hopefully enough to where, like, if it happens, we catch it, we can work with it, and we can continue moving forward, because this is very dependent on me being content with myself, and also her being content with herself. Because if she is discontent, she won't even understand that I am actually hearing what she's trying to say, because it's a justification, and that is what usually comes out on Facebook. The, well, if you could handle a strong woman, you wouldn't have a problem, or well this, or well that, or I am, or I'm, all these stories that begin to happen. So it really comes down to individual responsibility on who you are and what you are, but true strength is always going to hit the top of the meter. When it comes to when it comes to this, is going to be emotional strength. That's going to be the measure.
I think I see like it takes a strong woman to give your heart and like to trust a man. That
Mhm.
takes a strong woman, that takes strength. But I feel like whatever strong means to you, if you identify as a strong woman, whatever your definition of strong is, that is the reality that you will create.
Mhm.
So if strong woman to you means I can do it all on my own, I don't need a man, the like I can get through the struggle, like the struggle makes me stronger, like those kind of things, you will create struggle, you will create distance between you and men. You will like you create whatever you identify and believe, right?
Yeah.
Identify with and believe. So for me, like I said, I don't want to be the world's definition of strong. Like I want to be my own kind of strong because I want to live a life of bliss and fulfillment.
Yeah, I would say your wants would more align to what God defined as a woman.
Yes.
And when you align more with that, the more fulfilling it is.
Yeah, because I tell a lot of the women that I coach, like, yes, you can do everything, but you don't have to. And the reason we don't have to is because when we are in our, our quote unquote role and our men are playing their role, like they do better at certain things and they enjoy things like I tell Mac, like even if we're using my card, I don't care, like you pay. I want you, like, you do it.
Yeah.
Why? Because I don't want to think about it. And I don't, and it's not that I can't do it. It's that I just don't want to think about it. But he, like, he can do it. And then, like, and
And it
then,
has no effect on me.
yeah, but even when he does it, then I can, like, thank him and appreciate him and
Yeah.
love on him. And, like, it's awesome.
I get the reward with doing something that's natural to me, just like the more natural she is for her, the more I'm all over her. And
Yeah.
so,
So it's like, it's not like it's like, yes, you can do everything, but, like, you don't have to. And when you almost surrender to the fact that you don't have to, and, like, it's okay to let go and lean back a little bit, then the universe starts, giving you more of what you actually want, but it's like you don't know you want it, but that's what you do want. You want some help. You
well,
want,
and yeah, and it comes down to really kind of asking yourself of like, okay, yes, you can do all these things. I believe anybody can do anything. I think that's a fact. And so, but if you ask yourself, do you want to, or would you rather have a woman or a man doing it for you? And there's so many things where it's like, why, like if she'll do it or if he'll do it, why would I? Why I don't want to? You do it. And instead of locking down the justification of saying, well, I can take care of it, I don't need her, or I can take care of it, I don't need him. And now guess what are you going to attract? Even if you're in a relationship and you're like, I'll just take care of it myself, what are you going to attract? Taking care of it yourself. And if you resent that, then you are planting resentment through your own means. Like you made the decision versus being like, hey, no, I want you to do this. Really, it kind of comes down to telling the truth. Like I said, she tells the truth. If she feels off about something, says, I don't like this. Even, I mean, there's times when like she'll say, I don't feel like you're hearing me right now. Now, to me, I'm like, I'm hearing every word you're saying. That's not what she's saying. Okay. She's just saying, I don't feel heard right now. And no matter how good you're listening, it's not going to change that I feel heard or not. But it's like I'm in an emotional state right now for whatever reason to where I don't feel heard. And I'm like, oh, that like this doesn't have to do with me actually hearing her. This has to do with her emotional state. How do I change her emotional state of feeling heard? Well, I don't know all the time, but it's like, wait a minute, something's going on, has to do with an emotional fulfillment, an emotional need that I need to fulfill. So then I take a few, figure something out, and I find a way to fulfill that need. It The emotional strength for a man is being able to not be attacked by this, by being able to take some literal words that she is speaking, convert them into emotional terms, actually internalize and feel what she is feeling, and to myself think, oh shit, that's not good. Like I don't want to feel this.
when I'm, like, talking to a lot of different women, I talk about the Lion King analogy. Have I told you about
So
that? Yeah. There's, like, a Scar and there's Mufasa, and Scar projects strength, and Mufasa also projects strength. But Scar projects strength through fear, and Mufasa projects strength through love. And I feel like, um, when you project strength through love, so I think there's different types of, like, strength and how to project it, and
yeah,
I
but I
just love
haven't.
that.
I haven't always.
No,
Like
and neither have I.
there's
I've tried when I wasn't trying to be in control of everything. I projected a lot of strength through fear, because the control and the trying to, control and manipulate and get angry and all those things, that's me trying to control. I was trying to control my partner through my own fears of not being loved, being abandoned, like that. And so that is projecting strength through fear, where now it's like we project strength through love because we have, like, more understanding, and it's more like,
well, I think it's really because we're content with ourselves.
sure.
And we're not hiding behind lies or a mask or having to front something. It's just like this is who we are
And it's also not
all the
like
time.
I think you and I both don't project a lot of fear, because we both have a lot of faith and believe that God has our back. and that everything is going to work
Mm.
out the way that it's supposed to, like in the end.
Yeah, and in the beginning, like I didn't posture anything. I didn't show up a certain way because I thought she wanted this kind of a man, or because I thought I needed to be this kind of a man. I genuinely showed up and said, "This is who I am today. I might change tomorrow, but this is who I am today." So there's things where I'm like, you might not like the car I drive, you might not like the house I have, you might not like the situation I'm in, you may not like these things, but I'm just going to show you who I am and dump it right in front of your feet. And then I'll think, because like if you're the one, you'll just be here. If you're not, then you'll leave, or it's just not the right time. So I just was honest, and you did the same. And even through the strength part of it, to kind of back up a little bit, like you were practicing being vulnerable, like 40 something dates of getting better and better at it. And pretty much in some of those, probably maybe not getting hurt, but feeling the feelings of hurt, because it was like, man, I really wanted this to be something, but this guy's just not it.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt, I mean, maybe once I felt some like rejection a little bit, but most of the time, I would say every single 40 to 50 dates and guys that I went out with, and some I had a couple experiences with, but I think overall, like once I realized it wasn't right, like it was very easy for me to move on.
Yeah.
Is that what you were asking? I don't know.
Well, it's more like, as you get into it, to where there becomes a moment in time when you're like, because you promised yourself you wouldn't stack, right? You wouldn't stack up emotions or stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it's like, oh crap, I need to expose this.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very vulnerable space to try to expose something that doesn't make sense.
Yes, and so when I was practicing being vulnerable and exposing my feelings, how the men that I was practicing with reacted determined a lot of whether it was gonna continue or not.
Yeah. And
Because one of my biggest things was like, I want to feel safe. I
mm,
want to stay open. I want to be open. I want to be vulnerable, and I want to feel safe. I want to feel safe. And so with all the guys that I was, dating before you, when I was practicing being open and vulnerable, if I wasn't feeling safe to do so, or they weren't, being present with me, I just knew right away they weren't the one, or they weren't ready for me.
and were there times when you did that, where you opened yourself up vulnerable, and the response you got back, it was like hurt because you didn't feel heard, or you weren't seen?
Not really, because I wasn't really attaching to like the person.
Okay.
I was more like attached to how I want to feel. And it was like, if I wasn't feeling heard or seen or safe, then I just knew that this person wasn't the one for me. Like I was really good, honestly, at like not attaching.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't attaching to people,
Yeah. Well,
if that makes
you're very good
sense.
at your expectations and maintaining them, and proper boundaries on your beliefs and
Yeah,
all those
because
things.
it was more like I was being who I want to be inside of my perfect relationship. But if they weren't if they weren't showing up, then it was like I just straight up knew they weren't the one, because I was like, I'm not gonna fall in love with potential. Like I'm looking at
Mm,
their reality and how they respond and how they're being. That was
yeah. And so, like, once, probably one of the main things of why she stuck around with me was just the fact that every so often something would come up, and I did not react negatively to anything. I just listened. And that has to do with me being content with myself, because like previously, in my previous marriage, there were things being said and I'm like, what the fuck? And I would feel attacked. I would try to hold it in, but it was like, but at the same time, it wasn't the right person. So like, you're never gonna mesh when it's the wrong person. So that's why, like, with what she just said. Um, if you don't get it, just move along. Just move. Now, you might be in a situation where you don't have a choice, and you're kind of wondering what to do, and it's like, well, then you need training. Both individuals in the relationship actually need training, because the man needs to learn his part and the woman needs to learn her part, without this like, well, you said you would do this and you didn't, and now it's your fault. No more pointing fingers, more personal practice on like, this is like, continue doing it, because here's the thing: if you don't learn this, you're never going to be truly fulfilled in a relationship, neither one of you. And if your relationship works out, great, you'll be more fulfilled than you've ever been. If it doesn't, great, you get to go find the person that will fulfill you. Like, either way, you need to know how to do this. So when this begins, and all of a sudden, like, the more and more time goes by, even though we've been together a year and a half or better, um, it's not easy. It's still not easy for her to express her, wow, that was crazy. The camera just went nuts. It's never going to be easy to express something when you feel all messed up inside, emotional, because the stories start instantly. Like, oh, I must be feeling this, or you're triggered by some event, situation, or whatever. But the more it goes on, the faster I am to call it out and create this safe space, to be like, I can tell there's something emotional happening, and shut the doors on the world, slam the doors shut, and say, let's talk. And that's a valuable piece. And
We were talking about this the other day. Do you remember? It was like, I think most people have an expectation that, like, when they're with the right person, everything is going to be perfect and it's just going to flow, and there's never going to be any trigger or confrontation or anything like that, right? And I don't think that that's ever going to be the case, where triggers are never going to come up. But I think the key is like, when you're in a relationship with somebody, it's how you deal with the triggers. Because I think, even though Mac and I have a lot of training and a lot of this figured out, like, I still get triggered and he still gets triggered. But it's like, typically in a relationship, when some, like, normal relationships, when someone gets triggered, it turns into a blow up fight, or it turns into not speaking for 2 weeks. Like, it like, the triggers don't get handled, or you just continue to shove them down. Where it's like, I think the key is like, understanding the best way to, like, to get through the grow through the triggers together, because they're going to happen. So having an expectation that they're not is kind of unrealistic. And so
yeah,
we've just done a really good job at working through triggers.
I've spent a lot of time at dealing with triggers, like very specifically going through a process of pulling up triggers, and then dealing with them emotionally, internally, by myself, to make sure that they don't come out. Now, it doesn't mean they don't get triggered. It's just now that when they do, I'm very quick to go, this isn't real. You can process it later, like hold space, or do this or do that. Like, or even say, hey, you're dealing with something where you don't have all the facts. Shut up, go get the facts.
And I think, because I have switched from projecting strength through fear, and now I feel like I project more strength through loving energy. I think because of that reason, I do get triggered less, because I'm not afraid and I'm not fearful. And so, like, the women online that are projecting a lot of strong strength energy, it's all a lot of fear, because they've been so hurt. So I think that, like, comes through, like, healing and doing the work and that kind of stuff. Because, even though, like, yes, I don't think that, like, you'll ever never ever be triggered. But I think that the more that you heal and let go, and the less kind of like afraid you are and trying to control him. Like, because if I was trying to control him all the time, I would be more angry and more jealous and more manipulative, which means a lot more triggers would be coming up all the time. And he would be like exhausted because I would always be like,
Yeah,
you
gotta be
know,
done.
so that's just where like the healing and like you switch out, you kind of like let go of the fear and you start loving yourself more and in your words being more content, and then you can see others through a lens of love, and so that you do get triggered less when you do the work. um but this is where the strength comes in. Like it's not fearful strength. It's not like this need to project I'm so strong and I don't need anybody. It's like, no, I love myself, I honor myself, I love you, I honor you, I surrender and trust that like everything's going to be okay, and I'm not afraid that I'm going to be alone if you leave me, or I'm not afraid I'm not going to be loved because I love myself.
Yeah. So moving to more of the guy's position, right? We could continue on this for quite a while, but we don't want to give away all the secrets. Um, but talking about a guy, like what's strength for a guy now? I know a lot of guys that will assume strength is very simply, I'm the rock, I'm the one that handles all the bad situations, and I don't show any emotions, and I just get the job done. I pay the bills. I do the work. I'm a strong man. And you've got this idea that, like, yeah, men don't get roses, men don't get love, men don't get, like, where's my motherfucking love roses and shit, right? Like there's kind of resentment that usually creeps in later after the fact. But during all this other stuff, what happens is men just begin to repress everything. And so it's almost like the less emotional you are and the more money you produce, the stronger man you are, right? Like that's kind of like the fundamental thing here. And a woman, like, wants some of those things, but she doesn't always want just that. And when she becomes more feminine, that is a lie, and she won't feel safe with it. Because one, like Jen can tell you, I can provide the money, I can be strong in the emotional parts, and I can do all those things. But the one thing that I do that's much different is I don't hide my failures from her. I don't hide, like, the things that I consider could possibly even weak or not strong. I don't. I just reveal them, because if everything is revealed, nothing can take me out. Right? I don't have to worry. I don't have to create a story. I don't have to do anything. Even if there's something that I don't want to do, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I tell her the truth. Now, she may want to do it. It might offend her or anything else, but I'm not afraid to offend her because I'm being honest about how I feel, and she can trust the honesty, even if it doesn't always align perfectly. Now, lucky for us, most everything does align. And that was kind of the cool thing about it, is trusting the process of telling the truth. So she tells the truth about how she feels and everything else, hides nothing from me. I tell the truth about me and how I am and everything else, even though there's some things where I know she would like them to be a little bit different at times. And I'm like, well, so would I, like, but right now, this is where I'm at. There's some financial shit that I got to deal with where she's like, I don't really like this. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. And if you can't, like, genuinely, if you, like, before we were married, if I was like, if you genuinely can't handle this, that's like, just be you, do what you got to do. So I wasn't afraid of who she, like, what she might think of me, or if she left. I wasn't afraid. I was content with who I am, because I knew that if I was just honest and I aligned the best I could with God, that I would be provided what was necessary for me. Plain and simple. And because that's how I show up, she loves that strength about me. On top of the fact that my emotional strength to hold space and not feel attacked. Otherwise, it looks something like this. She comes to me, hey, I promised myself I wouldn't hide any of this shit. So I'm just going to dump it, and we're just going to have to deal with it. I don't know what to do with it, but here we go. I don't feel like you see me. And I'm over here working my ass off, taking her places, on trips, doing all this other shit, everything else. And if I got lies, unexposed shit, like, it's not just about lies and being honest, it's about unexposed fears. An unexposed fear is a lie. So if I fear my debt, never told her about it. If I fear some of my behaviors or something I'm dealing with, because we're all sinners, we're all failing at something, and then getting better, and then like, oh shit, now I got to do more, now I got to do more, and that's life, okay. But if I'm hiding that from her, now I have this little thing that's kind of like getting in my side that now I'm focused on. I can't be content with shit poking in my sides.
Mm.
Okay, I can't be content. And so now I am a different type of vulnerable. I am vulnerable to my lies. Not I am vulnerable in my emotions to her. Two different, totally different vulnerabilities. This is a vulnerability that can wipe you out versus a vulnerability that can strengthen emotional things and bring you together. So if I have these things and she goes, I don't feel like you see me, and I'm doing all this work trying to hold down the fort, trying to do these things, trying to be the fucking rock, and she goes, I don't feel like you see me. And I'm like, what do you mean? Don't why I just don't feel like you see me. I'm like, what I don't understand. What do you mean you don't see me? And now I'm in a panic. Right. And subconsciously, there's two things going on. One thing is that she knows something, and the other thing is like, why doesn't she understand what I'm doing for her? Because I'm self-sacrificing because of my lies and my stories and everything else. I'm not being fully honest. So when that begins to happen, this is how fast it goes sideways. I don't feel like you see me. What do you mean? Well, I don't feel like you see me. I'm looking right at you. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Why don't you understand that? Now she is trying to be seen, and all I'm talking about is myself. Why aren't you understanding how I'm seeing you? That's me talking about myself. That's how she is viewing my response. I'm actually rejecting her vulnerability and rejecting the one thing she's asking for. And then I do this. Why are you acting crazy? Fuck. Guess what I just did? I slammed the fucking door shut on vulnerability. I just kicked her right out of the fucking room. And she went, don't do that again.
I closed my heart off.
Yep.
Boom.
Well, I guess that was a bad idea. I guess I just won't do that anymore. Or even worse, what did I do wrong?
Because it doesn't feel safe now to share with
Yeah.
you.
And if she internalizes it negatively and begins to go, I guess I'm not enough. Now we're both fucked. Like, how do you reverse that? Because one, if you did that, you don't even know what you just did. She doesn't even know what she did. She's confused. You're confused. You've now got a story that she's attacking you. She's got a story that she's not safe. That's not fulfilling. So if she goes and tries to control and be a strong woman and just be like, oh, he just needs me to do this, I need to do that. Lies on top of lies.
And you both
on
are
top of lies.
saying, well, she doesn't know how to, you don't know how to communicate. That's the
I don't know
story.
how to communicate.
He doesn't know how to communicate.
Well, you're telling me I don't know how to communicate?
Yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's and it just escalates every fucking time, every conversation, every time you forget about it and come back and be like, I just feel like this. The other person punches you. She punches me. I punch her. It's a constant war. And most of you, that's how you like operate, and you don't know how to get away from it because it's the strongest emotional connection you have because it's dramatic. And that was honestly a challenge for me. I went from full on drama to something that worked so smoothly and easily that I was like, is the spark there? Like I began to wonder, like, is like, and then I was like, wait a minute, like it's not as intensive an emotion because I've been dealing with like full on depression from my previous battles. Like it was just a constant beatdown. Do you know that like being in a relationship with somebody that is like when you're constantly beating each other and going down, even if you're both good people, let's just say you're constantly fighting because you haven't done what we Jen and I have done. It begins to cause literal DNA breakdowns in your system. And you begin to become more instinctual. You begin to operate on very, very high levels of cortisol, and you shut down. And that's a hard place to come back from. And so any emotional, like strong emotional connection you get is through a very high drama. So then when you wind up in a very peaceful, amazing, smooth relationship, it almost feels like at first it feels like there's nothing here. because it's too fucking easy. And if you're not aware of it, to be like, no, it's just like way easy, like how it should be. You just need to kind of let the cortisol get out of your system, you know, and get back into that emotional easy where you can watch a lighthearted movie and bust a tear or two out, right? Versus just being like, watch the sappiest movie in the planet and just be like nothing, you know, because that's where I was at one point, you know. And so, um, yeah, I mean, we should probably wrap this up, but as a man, you know, like we've talked about the woman side of like what is strength to you, and I'm going to tell you, at like as a man, the mo the strongest, the most powerful strength that I appreciate in her is her vulnerability to bring things to me and let me be the strength for her, right? Like that takes a lot of strength to trust, to open the heart, that with the unknown. It takes a lot of faith, really, to just be like, I'm going to do this because I told myself I would. I have no idea the outcome. In fact, everything in my brain says don't do it, tries to protect me, tries to make me run from it, says everything not to do it. That overcoming that physical you to be the emotional you, that is a strength that is priceless. Okay? There is no value that I can place on that. And from my position, and then I'll let you speak from your side. Well, actually, why don't you state? No, I'm gonna do mine. I'm gonna do mine first. So for me, that like there's kind of like two strengths. One is to expose everything. Like if I have a fear, to expose it, and if I have anything hidden that could be a potential, like that could hurt her, to expose it. You know, because like if she opens up to me and she doesn't know something and it comes out and I know it potentially could harm the situation, I'm the one that needs to expose it. If she finds out about it, it could hurt. So even if there's something where I'm like not worried about it, but then I know it's one of her soft spots, I'm going to be like, hey, just because now I know this is your soft spot, let's talk about this. Is this a problem? And I put it on the table. And it doesn't mean there's much of anything out there. It's just that if I fear it, I have to expose it. That's a strength that I have. The courage to expose all my fears. And some of the stuff that I hid most of my life, I was just death, like like I couldn't even talk about it. Like there's something physically inside of me that would literally shut my mouth, and I couldn't speak practically. And so it took a very strong emotion to overcome that type of thing. I think for me, it's a combination of also being like dyslexic and like I get overwhelmed and it just shuts me down. So that was one part of it. The other strength is to be able to be in a relationship with her, and anything she says, like even if it triggers me with an attack, to not react, like but to address for sure, but not emotionally react. And even if I am triggered, to be able to process that information so fast that I can still be there for her. You know, like because there's certain things where yeah, I might get triggered or something, but I've done enough training and I know enough to where I can look at it and just say, well, is it true? Well, I don't know. I don't have all the facts. Well, then let it go. Okay. Is there anything you can do about it immediately right now? No, there's no. Okay. Well, no, don't address it right now. Okay. Move it to another time, a different day.
Do you remember what I said to you the other day when we were sitting on, you were on the couch and I was on the other couch?
Mm,
I was like, I feel like you don't love me.
mm,
Remember?
yeah.
And what did you say?
I don't remember.
Oh, I think you said like why or what? You like looked at me like I was crazy. And I was kind of just like kind of joking, but kind of like, and he's like, why? And I'm like, well, because you're sitting way over there. Like you're not sitting by me.
I, I think I said something like, are you saying that because that's how you feel, or are you trying to get a reaction out of me?
I just want you to sit by me.
Yeah. So I mean, I I knew it was just something to get me closer to her, is what I kind of assumed when she said it.
I feel like anytime we ever like react and we're like, I feel like you don't love us, it's always because we want you to be closer to us.
Yeah. So it's kind of a backwards conversation, because it's like I want you to do something to show me you love me, but it comes off as I feel like you don't love me. And
It's
as a
like,
man, we're
why?
like, are you fucking serious?
It's like, yeah, you're
Like,
sitting way over there. Like, right?
yeah, and we're thinking in our minds because they don't know this, guys. They don't know that when you go to work and you everything you've done in your life is built around them. In general, for men, generally for men, they even though it looks like they work for themselves, they build their lives around their wives and their family.
This is why I said I like appreciate so much like the men, there being men and women inside of our membership because like I can when I hear the men speak, like I know this, but it just reminds me like
Mhm.
how much you guys really do care.
Yeah, we literally design our lives around it, even though, yeah, we might take a day to do this or do that. But when you kind of look at the perspective, it's like, well, if he doesn't love you, why does he still show up at your house? Like, why does he still come home to you? Why does he still put all of his money into the we thing and not the I thing?
It's like you guys care so deeply and you try so hard, but sometimes like we don't know how to share what we want and you guys don't know how to give us what we want in the way that we want it. And like I think that's where the communication gets messed up, which is why like this work is so important.
Yeah,
So
and
we can
you're
understand.
doing a book study right now with the four agreements.
Uh-huh.
And one of the major agreements in that is to don't make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
So when she says, I feel like you don't love me, even though that's kind of like a weird type of assumption type thing. But to me, I'm like, don't make assumptions. Like,
I
I'm not going to
think
assume what she's saying
I
here. I'm
think
just going to
though
ask.
for us though too is like because we know all of this and we talk about it all this all the time. When I'm sitting on one couch and you're on the other couch and I say that, it's more like me kind of being
A
silly.
little sarcastic, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Max says I can be sarcastic
it's not
sometimes.
out of the question for this to happen though either,
Right.
right? Like, I
No.
mean, and there's times emotionally you feel like all of a sudden you're questioning, like, does he love me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like that shit happens. Like, it it kind of happens to everybody. Split moments, maybe, or a question, or you get in a depressed state, and then it's like, what the fuck's going on? And you question the other person's like loyalty or something. Like, that stuff happens because especially based on your previous programming, if you've been through things where somebody betrayed you or did some dumb shit or whatever, like, this stuff still causes triggers and causes you to second guess when you're in a down state. So having that emotional strength to just hold it together, hold space, but still process the emotion that you need to know the truth. Always getting to the truth in a peaceful manner is a real strength. And there was another piece here that I was going to add, but I think we've gone on too long, so I'll save it for another time on some of the keys of, like, especially with the men, like, things, guys, that you need to make sure you're doing to be able to get the rewards of, when I hold space for her, like, the rewards that come my way are, to me, tenfold. Like, yeah, sometimes it's hard for me to slow down, back up, because I'm thinking, like, I got all this to do, and if I don't stop right now and take care of her to make sure this, like, she is held together, which means, like, I don't care if I've got a $10,000 deal or $100,000 deal happening over here. They can wait. They can wait a couple hours for me to do what I need to do here, and then I'll go back. And if I lose the deal because I'm taking care of my wife, it was a bad fucking deal anyway.
Hmm.
That's how I see it. Like, God gave me an angel, take care of that. The money means nothing. And so that's how I frame it, because what happens is that 2 hours out of a month that she needs me, I'm there. And then right after that, she's all over me, making sure that I'm taking care of, like, I need for nothing. So there's no price that can be put on that. And if you want a relationship where your wife, it wants you, she loves you, and you actually want to be driven, like, it I've been in relationships where I wasn't driven to take care of a woman. I was like, I'm there, I did my part, I did my thing. Kind of was like, this is kind of weird. I don't know, like I want more of that feeling. I want to spoil her, but this one I don't, at times. Well, with I've never wanted to spoil somebody so much in my life. And the more I get to know her, the more the more inspired I am to do more for her. And I love that. Like that makes me feel more masculine, more manly, more just better all around. It's like this is who I was built to be. Now, some of you are going to have different variations of that, but I don't know about you, but I think it's pretty cool to be a man and be able to do that for her. Like there's certain things she'll hold back on, and I'm like, no, here, do this. Like, no, you need to take care of yourself. Here, let me send you to get your nails done or get your hair done, or let me pay for it. Let me do this. Let me do that. Like it's like, of course I want that done. Like you're precious to me. Let me help. Let me do it. Let me prove it.
I love how you just like basically said I was an angel.
Mhm.
Like you look at me with the like through the lens of like I'm an angel. And I think that reflects in the way that you show up and the way that you treat me because you see me as your angel.
Yeah, precious.
I love that.
Mm.
I think, the lens in which you see your partner reflects how you treat your partner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how you show up for them, and also occasionally hold the standard to them. Because we can all get a little maybe on the outside boundaries sometime, and every once in a while you got to be like, hey, you're not acting like an angel. Let's move back over here. Because I mean every once in a while we'll both push, and she might do it to me too. Like, hey, you're not acting like the guy that I married. So let's be like, and I'd be very quick to recognize that, like there are times when I've done things where I back up and I'm like, okay, let me apologize. Like for men, keep your word. Do not overpromise. Never, because that's also a space that you'll crush for a woman. Like if you tell them you're going to do something and then you're not doing it, they're going to start shutting you off, pulling back, not listening,
Yeah.
getting
So
resentful.
I think that, like, to close this, what I see strength is like, how they say, like, choose your hard, so whatever strength means to you, if you want to be strong, well, decide what you want and how you want to feel. And if you want to be strong, make the definition of strong move towards what you want your life to look and feel like. So if you want to be a strong, independent woman who, does everything on your own and is maybe not lonely, but like you're just, doing it all and that if that's what you want, then that can be your definition of strong. I like the definition of strong as like my strength. I've showed strength in like being open and vulnerable and like allowing and receiving, which also takes strength because for me to become this version of me, I had to let go and take off all the like armor that I'd put on myself as a protection and just like open up and be me. And the strength is like maybe I can get hurt, but even if I do, like, everything is going to work out the way that it's supposed to. And in order for me to get what I want, which is what we have, like I had to let it all go. And that was kind of the scary part, which took a lot of strength for me, which also makes me strong in a sense, even though I don't identify as a strong, independent woman that doesn't need anybody. No, like I like this. I'm strong, like because I am open to like allowing the help in, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's it. I don't
that's it. I mean,
know.
there's a lot to that could continue into this, but just keep in mind that everything Well, don't limit yourself to the stories of thinking that you can't have something better. There's a strength in that as well, of being able to say, I want a strong man, or I want a vulnerable or feminine or even strong woman. Like being able to say, this is what I want, this is what I need. There might be a guy out there that he could have like a learning disability, and he's good at, like, he's like, I'm good at like being in my zone and being in my one space, but I can't do all this other stuff. Like, let me just be a computer nerd and provide money, because that's all I've got. And then there's a woman out there that says, I need a man that I feel very safe with, that can provide some money, and I want to be able to take care of him in all these other functional ways, and you're a perfect fit. Like, but for each one of you, it should not be limited to, this is all I believe I can get, so I'm going to settle. Like, that's what you don't want to do. You want to have enough strength to say, I write the rules and I can have anything I want. And if I hear in my mind thinking a lack or a doubt in it, I need to go in my mind and tell my mind, well, what would it be like to experience this? Even pretend that I could have it now. If I fully truly believe I could have it, do I want it?
The women online that are arguing like that, the strong feminist women, that kind of those strong women, those are the women that are like, if that's you, like, I think you're, those are the women that are repelling the men that will take care of them. Those are the women that always end up in relationships with men they end up resenting later on. Um, and so it's like, if you want things to change, things have to change. And so to just like take off the mask of this, that masculine strength, and put on your feminine strength,
Yeah.
that's how you can shift that.
And
But
eliminate the scarcity.
yeah. And so that's why, there's nothing wrong with being a strong, independent woman, but if you want different, like, you just might want to consider letting some of that go,
Yeah, if we'll
which
put it
also
we'll put it
takes a
this
lot of
way.
strength.
If you want to be a strong, independent feminist woman, this isn't the place for you. You should go somewhere else. If if you want to be a truly fulfilled as a woman, as a feminine woman, or as a man and a masculine man that provides for that feminine woman, then this is the place for you. Because
Yes.
this is what we want to do. This is how we want to work with people. And we want people to be able to say, to be like really fulfilled in just who they are, man or woman. So we'll just stop there. So otherwise, I'm going to start talking about a whole other subject.
Yeah, no, I think that was great.
So
All
all right,
right.
well, we'll see you guys next time, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yep. Whoops. How do I go back? Oh, thank you.
See you.